Hey everybody, welcome back to TCS Star Frogs. My name is Travis, and today I wanted to talk about how I build the lids for my 10-gallon terrariums. That's something that I've gotten a lot of questions from you guys about, so I'll go ahead and do a build tutorial for that, and I also wanted to address my drainage. I think I kind of have gone over my drainage, but I haven't gone over the individual components, so I'll go ahead and break that down for you guys. Even though I haven't used identical parts for all of it, you guys can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. So without further ado, let's go get into it.
So before we get started, I just wanted to go over a few safety precautions. If you're going to be cutting your own glass, I would recommend wearing safety goggles or glasses, and it wouldn't be a bad idea to wear some protective gloves as well. And if you're going to be sanding the glass, I would recommend either wearing a protective mask or wet sanding the glass so that you're not breathing in silica dust. So this is what my 10-gallon lids look like. They're pretty simple and basic, pretty straightforward construction, and they are pretty easy to build. And if you've got extra time and the extra glass, it's worthwhile, but they're a little bit time consuming. This is one on a 10-gallon from above. These are made so that they fit your standard basic 10-gallon. So these are all the items that you'll need if you're building this completely from scratch. Some of this stuff you wouldn't need if you were to buy the glass from a glass shop. And these are the glass sizes that you would need. These are all the pieces of glass once they've been cut, as well as a piece of dowel for the handle and the screen. So the first step in the process is to line up all your pieces of glass in the order that you would want them to be glued. And then the next step is to take those longer pieces, which are going to be your structural support, and put a bead of silicone along each of the 1" by 4" pieces. And once you have silicone on those, you're going to gently press them so that they hold the side pieces of glass to the top and bottom pieces of glass. And you want to make sure you do this on a flat surface, and also on a surface that you don't mind getting silicone on. I'm using an old garage towel here. You could use basically any kind of towel or fabric that you don't mind getting silicone on. And it is a little bit messy when you squeeze the silicone out of there, but you want it to be nice and even so you get a full contact between the glass, and the silicone holds really well this way when you get, all the way to the edges of the glass. So once this is glued, you'll want to let it sit for 24 hours for the silicone to cure. And then once it's cured for 24 hours, you're going to flip it over. And here's where you're going to want to measure your mesh to fit that gap. It's also important to make sure that the mesh sits nice and flat, because when you glue it in place with the silicone, you want it to sit as flat as possible. Now the next step is to take some painter's tape and tape all the edges so that you have about 1/8 to 1/4 inch gap in between where your screen sits and the tape. This is going to make it so that when you peel your tape off, the silicone looks nice and clean. It gives it a nice finished look at the end. This isn't necessary. You could do it without the tape, but it's just not going to look as nice. Now once you've got all your tape in place, you want to remove the screen because you're going to apply silicone where the screen will be going. And you don't want to be shy with the silicone in this step. You want to make sure that there's a nice thick bead because you want it to press through the screen, and you also want to be able to smooth some of the silicone out on top of the screen to give you a nice edge. And this also helps prevent any sharp pieces of screen sticking up that could poke you when you're going to pick up your lid. So then you want to put your screen back on top of the silicone and just kind of gently press it so that the silicone comes through the holes. And then I go back through and actually press on top of the screen where the silicone is to make sure that it gets down as low as the glass is so that they're flush with each other. And it is kind of messy. You can definitely wear gloves if you want to. I don't wear gloves, but it probably wouldn't be a bad idea, and it definitely makes it a little less messy. Now after you've got it pressed in place, I like to go back and smooth out all the silicone, and this is what's going to give you that nice finished look. And it definitely takes a little bit of practice, but it's really not too hard to do, and it will give you a nice clean line on that silicone once you remove the tape. So once all your silicone is smoothed out and the way you like it, you can go ahead and remove the tape carefully. It's important to remove the tape while the silicone is still wet so that you create that nice clean line. If you wait until the silicone cures, it's going to rip the silicone up as you remove the tape, or have an overlapping piece of silicone over where the tape was. So removing it while the silicone is wet is very important. And you can see you're left with these nice clean lines. And that's basically the finished product. The only thing that's left to do is to add the handle, or basically a piece of dowel. That's what I use. You can also use any little bit of scrap wood, or an old wine cork that's cut in half works well. And in order to secure this, a nice dab of silicone, and then I just place it in what looks like the center. I never really measure it out. I just try to look for what looks like the center, and then press it down so that it's nice and secure. And after 24 hours, it should be good to go. I usually let it cure a few days before putting it in an actual tank. So I wanted to talk about my drainage really quickly. So this whole setup that I built with the 10 gallons and the drainage is just run off of 1/2-inch irrigation tubing. And I just used some simple T's and some elbows to attach the hose, and some bulkheads, of course, are drilled into the tanks. The bulkheads are 1 1/4 inch, I believe, and I have a couple different types that I got at different hydroponic stores. I don't know the exact brand, and on the shorter one I actually did cut off a couple of the barbs with a hacksaw, They stopped carrying the shorter ones, so I ended up having to source the longer ones. I liked these shorter ones because they had two O-rings, one that went on the inside of the glass and one that went on the outside. On the other ones, I could only find ones that had one O-ring, but they still keep the water out, and that's pretty much it for my drainage.
Alright, thank you guys for tuning in today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and hopefully you learned something. If you guys did enjoy this video, go ahead and give it a like for me. And if you guys haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd love it if you guys would subscribe. And if you guys have any questions or comments, you can write them in the comments down below or write me on social media. I'll leave all the links in the description for all my social media. And if you guys have any suggestions for new videos, I'm always open to that as well. So thank you again for watching. You guys have a great day.